approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hamlet?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. Tyree?
Aye.
Mr. Stimson?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
And consent agenda, Mr. Scudder, can you please provide an overview of our consent agenda?
So under your consent agenda, you have your approval of your bills, which is sent out to you, and then we also have your approval of minutes, from the February 10th, regular meeting, the February 17th, the February 19th, the February 24th, and the March 3rd budget workshops for your, consideration.
And so, board, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hamlet?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. Tyree?
Aye.
Mr. Stimson?
Aye.
Mr. Saunders?
And next, the state and local department, agencies, service provider reports, starting with Cumberland County Public Schools. Dr. Schultz. Welcome.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment and catch you up on everything that's been happening in the school system this week, and actually last week. So we had Read Across America last week at the elementary school and middle school. The theme was Charlotte's Web. I went down on Friday and got to read to all the kindergarten classes, and it was absolutely amazing. The kids were so great, and they were so excited to have people come in and read to them. March 6th, Cumberland High School had a college and career fair. There will be pictures up on our social media of all of the different businesses that came in and participated, students visiting their tables. We also had about a dozen colleges and universities in the area outside of the gymnasium for students to visit. It was a really neat event. Just yesterday, we had some students from the high school go visit the General Assembly. Luther Cyphers invited our students up, took them into the General Assembly and then into his office and had a conversation with them afterwards. They had a great time with that. It was a great experience for them. And looking ahead, on Thursday, March 12th, we have the State Superintendent of Schools and the Secretary of Education visiting Cumberland. We are hosting the Region 8 listening session, and that begins at 6 o'clock and ends at 7:30. There is a round table from 3 to 4:30. If anyone would like to attend that, they're welcome as well. Also, if you are a runner, I am not. Saturday is the High Bridge 5K. Come on out and support the Cumberland Education Foundation. They raise money to support students for scholarships, grants for teachers who have classroom projects, things like that. And it's a great organization. They do a lot for us. We are also hosting 2 mix and mingles, one on the 12th, one on the 19th. Those are events where community members can come in and interact with our seniors. They learn the art of conversation over, heavy hors d'oeuvres and punch and stuff like that, things that will carry on into their professional career. So if you're able and in the area, that's from 5 to 6, both of those nights. So we've had a lot going on, but mostly tonight I wanted to thank you all for coming to the work session. I thought that was really productive, and I really appreciate your time and attention to that. So thank you all, and have a great evening.
Yep, thank you very much, Missy. And next, VDOT, Mr. Brian Locker.
All right. Good evening, members of the board, administration. Mr. Sutter or Stutter? Did I get it? Sutter. Okay, so this will be new for you. We finally have some new names that I can share some slides with, so here we go. Who am I? So I'm Brian Locker, the assistant resident engineer at the former residency for VDOT. I'm here to talk about the last month's ongoings with the department. Here we go with the budget. This slide here is better representation of that. Graphically, here's where we're at, roughly about $800,000 and a 1.2 million budget and change. The gap between the orange and the green, again, is the expenditures versus the spend plan. That gap is representative of the activities that we as a department on the maintenance side were not able to do during snow removal. Snow removal consumed a lot of that general maintenance items for a month. Our crews are out there, we're repairing potholes, and we're doing some upkeep on the gravel roads, addressing work orders. It's typical for this time of year. Primary and secondary mowing will start around April or May, so if your constituents start asking, that's when it's going to happen. starting with the primaries and then the secondaries. In advance of the mowing, there will be trash pickup, so you'll see folks out there in the coming weeks and months. The Route 60 school enforcement, if you've driven through there, you'll see that the appurtenances and the items related to the school zone photo enforcement is up and running. So VDOT doesn't have any control, if you will, of the schedule. That's all the contractor, and they're doing the work. So I guess what you don't know through the county, I can share at the next board meeting. I suspect by that time it'll be up and running. The Route 60 courthouse, the pavement markings, Chairman Newman, or you had inquired about the crosswalks a while back. So there's no funding available actually to place the crosswalks in the courthouse area. And then there is a warrant component. So VDOT will go through kind of the behind the scenes of the review to see how the warrants are met and where they can go. And then the funding mechanism, again, there's no direct funding available to the department. We can talk about that as the months move forward, possibly how that could be funded, maybe through county funds, but more to come on that. Let's see what else I have in here. So what's not up there on the slide, the secondary 6-year plan is coming up. I think I mentioned that last month. The process is once the budget is finalized with the available funds for Cumberland County, I'll be working through administration to share it with the board. Once that's out there, that'll be presented to you all. With the available funding, you can select roads depending on how much is there. You can reallocate roads or reprioritize roads based on the list. And then there's a work session, and then there's a public hearing, and then there's a resolution. That's all got to be wrapped up in June. So I'll be sharing in the next couple board meetings what the processes are, again, working through administration. The only other item I have on here is Mr. Saxton from Public Works had reached out about a field meeting for permitting of the water line that's going to be coming up in the next, I guess, couple weeks. So we'll be out there with that later this week. That is all I have. Here's just put on your next slide because I keep forgetting sharing this one. And again, if your constituents do have a question, you can point them to 1-800 Ford Road. It's also on the public website. You can put in a work order that way. That is all I have from our report. Any questions?
Clinton Road update?
Oh.
The study?
Yes, that was, you reminded me. As of this afternoon, the study has been complete, and there will be chevrons, arrows, if you will. I can share that with you via email and through administration, exactly where it's going. It's one of the curves where we're going to be putting some signage out there on that. So thank you for reminding me.
Any other questions for Mr. Locker?
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, sir. Sure. Next, finance report. Ms. Cruz.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. On pages 24 through 33 of your board packet, you'll find the monthly budget report. That's for the month of February. That's for your information. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Board members, just a few minutes to flip through. Yeah, are there any questions from Ms. Cruz? Do we have a motion to approve the appropriation? Good. Not yet.
Okay. So the first appropriation is found on page 34 through 36 of your board packet. In July, Cumberland County was awarded the RSAF grant through the Virginia Department of Health. The funding provided through the grant allowed the county to purchase a new ambulance. The RSAF awarded funding to purchase at 70% of the cost, not to exceed $252,000. In February, the new ambulance was delivered, as you all saw, and the funding has been received from the Virginia Department of Health. The total cost of the ambulance was $362,561. The local match is $110,561. It is my recommendation that the board approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $252,000 for funds received from VDH. In addition, I recommend the board approve an appropriation of $110,561 from the county's general fund to the capital improvements fund.
And before I ask for that motion, I want to thank Mr. Darren Hurley. If you would, sir, would you stand just so everyone knows who you are? And embarrass yourself. But the ambulance was actually here at the previous meeting, and it looks great. We appreciate all that hard work and bringing $252,000 into the county and putting us in a much better place when it comes to EMT service. So thank you, sir. With that, do we have a motion to approve the appropriation for the RSAF grant as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hamlin?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. Tyree?
Aye.
Mr. Stinson?
Aye.
The next appropriation request starts on page 37 of your board packet. DMV has remitted $210.02 to the county for the local share of the license plate fees collected on the sale of animal-friendly license plates. According to Virginia code, for every $25 fee collected in excess of 1,000 registrations for animal-friendly plates, $15 is to be paid to the locality in which the vehicle is registered. These funds are remitted to the locality on an annual basis. In addition, the allocated funds must be used to support sterilization programs for dogs and cats within the county. It is my recommendation that the board approves a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $210.02 to remit to Richmond Rough House for their support to the Animal Control Department for their sterilization programs.
And before I ask for the motion, are there any questions? Ms. Cruz? No? Do we have a motion to approve the appropriation for animal-friendly plates as presented?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Hamlin?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. Tyree? Aye. Mr. Stinson?
Aye.
The next appropriation request starts on page 39. Cumberland Volunteer Fire Department applied for the FY 2026 PPE grant projects from the state's Department of Fire Programs to purchase fire safety equipment. The funding request was approved, and these funds totaling $51,097.45 were deposited to the county's checking account. Therefore, the funds have been remitted to the fire department. The funding received from the Virginia Department of Fire Programs were distributed to the grantee from the county. I am requesting that these funds received and the expenditure be appropriated in the FY 26 budget in the amount of $51,097.45. This funding was not supplemented with county funds.
Once again, hats off to all the volunteers that help in gaining grants to support the county fire and EMT services. With that, do we have a motion to approve the appropriation for Cumberland Volunteer Fire Department as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hamlin?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. Tyree?
Aye.
Mr. Stinson?
Aye.
The final request can be found on page 44 of your board packet. In accordance with Virginia Code Section 10.1-1422, the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality has remitted the county's 2026 litter prevention and recycling grant funding in the amount of $9,953.46. All cities, counties, and incorporated towns in Virginia are eligible for this grant if they have eligible litter prevention and or recycling programs. I am recommending that the board appropriate funds totaling $9,953.46 received from DEQ to the refuse disposal budget for recycling and youth education initiatives as outlined in the grant requirements.
Any questions from Ms. Cruz on this? Do we have a motion to approve the appropriation as presented?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Hamlin?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. Tyree?
Aye.
Mr. Stinson?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, planning and zoning report. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Stephanie Johnson, Planning Director, and this evening I have for you the monthly Not on there, okay. The planning update for February 2026. So for pending zoning applications, nothing has changed really. We still have 4 CUPs and 1 rezoning. The 1 conditional use permit is going before the planning commission next month. That is for Mr. Osborne Carter. I'm sorry, next week for Mr. Osborne Carter. That is to address lot deficiencies. Zoning permits issued for the month of February. There was 1 commercial accessory, 0 commercial primary, 10 residential primary. I'll get it straight before my time is up this evening. 3 residential accessories and 2 farm structure affidavits. There was a total of 3 subdivisions approved, and we have 50 currently pending. For site plans and surveys of existing lots, there were 2 that were approved, and there are currently 38 pending. For other regulatory functions, for commercial E&S permits that we have open, we do have the same 5 currently. The 2 solar facilities on Cumberland Road South, 1 poultry litter shed, 1 poultry facility, and then the new one is the Amtil Wetland Mitigation Project, which is on Amtil Road. This is a wetland restoration project of about 64 acres right along the James River on property owned by Mr. Johnny Ozel. The residential E&S permits issued for the month were a total of 9. And then at the bottom of page 56, you'll see some potential code amendments. Those, again, have not changed in quite a while. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have for me this evening.
So I have one question on Backwater Properties. There's a major subdivision on Davenport Road. Can you give us a little bit more information on exactly where in Davenport that is?
Major subdivision on Davenport.
Yeah, there's 10 lots on private road, and then there's an additional 2 lots. Mr. Stimson, do you know?
Oh, no, I'm sure.
It's closer to the 45 south end.
Yes, so that is Backwater Properties. So they have a parcel that they are, it was actually 2 tracts of land that they've combined, and they're going to get 10, about 2.5 acre lots out of those 2 current parcels. That was a project that they started back in 2024. But they had another lot that they could go ahead and start working on currently. So they've now finished up with the houses on those 2 lots. So I believe their intent is to come back to the subdivision to finalize that, because it does require private road installation, a road bond, a little bit more work with that major subdivision. That does have to go before the planning commission for approval of the preliminary survey before it comes back to me for approval of the final plat.
Okay. So these lots are not close enough to be connected to sewer?
No, sir.
Okay.
The only area that has sewer currently is from about Route 13 and 60 to almost 45 and 60. And there are a few parcels on Route 45 south, but it's not very far. And then again, it picks up, I think, just after or just before Airport Road going to the town of Farmville limits.
Okay. That's all the question I have. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And next is Kemper Beasley with the county attorney's report.
Mr. Chairman, I will report I have been in contact with Gentry Lock, the county's representation for Green Ridge. They report they have been in communication with Green Ridge's council. However, the host agreement to date has still not been signed, nor has the DEQ permit been finalized for Green Ridge. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Board members, any questions for Kemper? No? Thanks, sir. And with that, move on to, there are no public hearings or old business, so
Mr. Chair, if I may, under old business of point of entry. And I don't know if this is a question for our county attorney or maybe even finance, but at a previous meeting when we took up the issue of the interest-free loan through the EDA for the grocery store project. I know this board approved half, and then we wanted to see a presentation, go over business plan more in depth. I'm just curious, now some time has transpired, and I know that the equipment, I think, is supposed to be here next week, and I'm just curious as to where we stand on the final approval for that, the remaining funds of that, through the EDA for the interest-free loan.
So currently, even as of today, this afternoon, even though we have spoken with the owners of the grocery store, and they are getting some of that documentation together for us,
Okay.
and so they will be in later this week to discuss that with us, so we can go over it with them, since Mr. Stanley is no longer here. So we still have some catching up to do on that, and so he has submitted some information, so we're reviewing that now, and then making sure that the agreement is adhered to before we presenting that to the board.
Yeah, we got a call not too long ago from one of the owners and was inquiring about that. And we went through the file, and there was some documentation that we needed to review that I couldn't find in the file, so we're following up with that, and Jennifer's all over it.
Do you know what documentation we're waiting on? Because I know that when we originally passed the first half of the funding, it was we want to see a presentation, and my understanding was, based on the workshop that we had, this board was going to take that information and decide whether or not we wanted to fund the remaining half. And I was just curious as to that status more so, because I don't believe that we've discussed that at any subsequent meetings.
Yes, so we will be working on that for you, but in addition to that, in order to get the remaining funding from the grant, we have to be able to certify everything and qualify, not only for the agreement, but also for the VDEX grant.
Okay, that's what I needed to
Do you
know.
want that
Thank you.
presented at a future board supervisors meeting?
I think the way that we structured it, we still have to give a final approval on that second half funding, so I believe that we would have to have that on a future meeting.
Okay. Let's see, old business, new business, request to set a public hearing for Doco Investments LLC.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This item has been on the agenda and before the board a few times. This request to set has been brought before you again this evening to be set for public hearing at your next regular meeting. This is for the Doco Investments, the rezoning request at the corner of Blenheim Road and Route 60 Anderson Highway.
And the request is for the upcoming board meeting next month?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the request and set the hearing as presented?
So moved for the next board meeting.
Second.
Mr. Hamlin?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. Tyree?
Aye.
Mr. Stimson?
Aye. Additional information is contained in your board documentation on pages 57 and 65. And please have any comments, please. Public comments, only individuals who have signed up for the public comment period will be allowed to speak and called upon by the chairman. Members of the Board of Supervisors or county officials will not respond directly to questions asked during the public comment period. Instead, answers will be directed through the county administrator at a later date. Please provide contact information on the sign-up sheet to all proper response by the county administrator. First is Betty Myers.
Betty Myers, 577 Deep Run Road, District 1. I took a short trip out of town, and then I came back in town. I read an article in the Farm Bureau Herald concerning a resolution of censorship of Mr. Ward, a member of their council. I went back and I read what was in that resolution, and I found that there was no basis for what they did. However, Luther Cyphers also sent a letter into the letters to the editor, and I'm going to share portions of that with you all this evening, because I know from reading minutes and discussions that y'all are looking at this additional censorship of our own Board of Supervisors. And this is what Mr. Cyphers had to say. Criticism is not something to fear, it is something to understand. When addressed correctly, it creates opportunity for improvement, not division. Public service requires the public to be served, not suppressed. And when people feel neither heard or served, the pressure builds. And this is true in this county. Farmville is an incredible little town with great potential, but it will not realize that potential because we elected or staff the town hall with people who know best and who effectively keep the people in line through governance. Farmville's potential will be realized when local government learns to not only listen, but also harness the creativity and power and potential of the people it is sworn to serve. To humbly ask what is required of it and faithfully pursue it. And from my experience here in this county, that is something I think the Board of Supervisors of Cumberland County needs to take to heart. Thank you.
Next is Sheila Martin.
I do not have the figures for the animal shelter this week, but as I'm sure you've seen all over Facebook, they are full. We're looking into putting a hard top. If you've been up there, we have an outdoor run, and we tried putting a soft top on it, and snow destroyed it. So we're looking at putting a hard top over it. I told him I was willing to foot that part of the bill. We may have to move that run because it's on a drain field or on drainage lines, and they can't put posts in to hold hard top. So I'm going over to meet with Mike tomorrow and see what we can do about that, so these animals can get out of the weather and out of the sun. Let's see, I'm a nonprofit, still working on getting that EIN number. We don't know why it's taken since December to get it, but we're still working on it. So all nonprofit goals are still sitting out there on a counter to get stuff for this animal shelter going. That's really all I have to say. As far as this public hearing coming up for Valco on the Dollar General, I really hope y'all will really rethink this and vote this thing down.
And next, April Morris.
Hello. We had our Valentine's Day dinner and dance at the Cartersville Volunteer Fire Department. Dinner was amazing, had a great turnout. Dance, not so much. It probably didn't help that all of our guys had leave to go fight a fire. Left me and the treasurer there holding down the fort. But they went and took care of business. That's what we're supposed to do. So the next event we have coming up is March 28th for cornhole, which I still don't know what it is. I mean, I know what you do, but I still have not played. So I'm going to have to learn how to do that. We will have food and drinks available for purchase, and we are having baked goods for sale as well. And that starts at 9 a.m. on the 28th. It's $20 a person. After that, we have another dance, spring dance, April 18th from 8 p.m. till 12, and that is with Slate River. Hopefully that one will do better than the Valentine's did. And we had Pippi's Doghouse set up on a Saturday at the firehouse, and they donated funds back to the firehouse, and they did phenomenal. And we have discussed with them and other food trucks about setting up, because in Cartersville, we are not fortunate like Cumberland, we don't have restaurants. So we would have to drive into town, which is not that far, but there are people out there who cannot drive. So this does help, because neighbors were able to pick up meals for people. And the community really seemed to enjoy the fact that they could come and get food. And several of them mentioned to me that they would have liked to have been able to just sit there and socialize and eat. So I guess April's gonna set up tables and socialize next time. So, but we do appreciate the people who did come out for us that day. And there were people actually handing us donations, so that helped. We're doing the best we can, so I hope some of you will come to something. I know that Brian Hamlet will be at the carnival in July with the dunk tank. We have secured the dunk tank, so that one's gonna be fun. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And Thomas Schwartz.
Thomas Schwartz from North Shore. Usually I get up here and update you guys on what's going on. I'm not going to waste my 3 minutes on that. It'll be on my Facebook page. Look at it later this week. I want to talk to you about medical care in the United States, Virginia, and here in Cumberland County. There's a way medical care is done, and there's a way it should be done. I'll give you a couple examples. We just attended a seminar. 400 or so nurse practitioners. Speaker gets up talking about, we go to these seminars to keep up with what's new. He gets up there and he says that for diabetic care, we know our office does not. This is a speaker speaking to 400 nurse practitioners from 48 states and 2 countries. Says our office no longer checks diabetic feet with a puncture and for neuropathy. We no longer do it because they no longer compensate us for that. We don't even have the kit. When we walked out, my wife turned to me and she said, make sure you have one of them kits. My wife wants to do things the right way. Right here I got just one example of a very inexpensive machine. This thing right here, peak flow meter. This is what my doctor had me use when I asked him, after 11 years of being asthmatic, to finally test me. What they pulled out, this little piece of plastic. Now mind you, they might be financially strapped, they only work for the University of Virginia, all right? This is what they pulled out. It does one thing, measures peak flow. This is a $3,000 machine that we'll be using. The piece alone that I put in your mouth costs more than this. It will cost us money to use this machine. This machine tests for 4 different things. This tests for 1. This keeps records. It'll tell me how much lung volume you have, everything. It's the way it should be done. Testing for flu, strep, COVID. There's a way it's done, there's a way it should be done. The way it's done is by a visual swab. It costs about $6. You get reimbursed 12. You make $6, not a bad deal. The way my wife wants to do it is use a Veritor. It's $1,000, $1,500 machine. The test costs $12 to use. On top of all this, has to be calibrated every year. We have to do controls every year. We lose money every test we take. On this, we break about even. Difference is Veritor, 95% accurate, swab test, 50 to 70%. If I tell you you don't have it, you have a 30 to 50% chance that you do have it. If I swab you, you have a 5% chance. I'm sorry, my time's up. Anyway, I need to have a meeting with you guys, because it's one thing to lose money, it's another thing one of the pieces of equipment I have is $100,000. I can't afford to pay taxes on that when it doesn't compensate me anything. So I need to talk to you guys. I've been trying, I've sent out emails since December. I need a meeting with somebody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Forgot my toy.
This end of the public comment periods. Now, time for the chairman and board member comments.
So I just want to thank everybody for being in attendance here tonight. I see some new faces in the crowd, that's always a good thing. The more people that get involved, the better. Again, I'm a broken record when I say this, but this is your meeting. This isn't our meeting, we're doing your business. So thank you for caring enough to be here. One thing I would like to point out, and of course you saw the presentation during VDOT, during Brian Walker's presentation about the speed cameras that are coming to the school zone. Now I know that was an issue that had come before us, I think, our first year as a new board, and then it came, but then when reading the code, we realized that it's not really our call to make, that the state code authorizes local law enforcement agencies, local or state law enforcement agencies to set up those cameras and monitor them, which makes sense because it's local law enforcement agencies who are in charge of enforcing local laws. And I know that we were all in agreement that, I can't speak for the board, I'm just speaking from my experience, that we were in agreement that it was warranted in that school zone because the number of violations, and when you look at how strained our sheriff's department already is to try to properly manage and enforce the speed limit in that school zone, especially during school hours, it was just, you know, you could set 3 or 4 deputies out there. Obviously, you don't have coverage in the rest of the county, but and you're still not going to pull everybody that still blasts through that zone. But I know since we kind of said, look, that's not a board issue, that's something that our sheriff's department's going to have to decide if they want it. They're going to have to do the reviewing of the violations and making sure that the summons go out properly. But we were in support of that because that's a way that we can hopefully reduce speeding and maintain a safe area for our kids during school hours. But I just wanted to bring that up because it hadn't gotten a lot of publicity since it wasn't something that we were talking about on a regular. And I know people are seeing the signs that are going up, the signage that VDOT had approved, and then of course I think I saw the contractor working on installation of the actual cameras, and there were some people starting to ask questions. Hey, you know, I didn't know about this. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody here was aware of what was transpiring. So, and if anybody has questions, I'm always available for you. Email, phone call, text message, stop me on the street, hey you. But thank you for coming. God bless you.
Just to expand upon that real quick, Mr. Hamel is correct. It's kind of like having another tool in your toolbox, and this is by Virginia code. This is a tool that the local law enforcement has. There was board discussion and board agreement that any fines collected through this process do not go to the general fund. They will go to public safety specifically. And I guess my personal feeling on this is there's, as you can tell from Mr. Walker's presentation, I think there's more to be done. The sidewalk ends right in front of the high school. There is no crosswalk there. I have seen kids crossing, scampering across. I think we can do better. That's all I'd like to say just from that aspect. Thank you for coming. It's a very efficient meeting today. And it's Tyree.
Good evening, everyone. I'm being redundant here, but thank you all for coming, taking time out to show that you care, that you're concerned about what's going on here in the county. And we do appreciate you all coming out and addressing concerns. And I always say, if we work together, we can accomplish so much more. So let's continue to work together. Have a good night.
And I'd like to say the same thing. Thank you very much for coming out and being part of the process. Thank you again.
And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry. Mr. Hamlin?
Aye.
Mr. Newman?
Aye.
Mr. Tyree?
Aye.
Mr. Simpson?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas not here.
Meeting's adjourned.
I'm sorry.